Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sentinel Sports Extra, Cleveland Guardians Weekly Report. No analytics here. I'm Tim Shirer. You can follow me on Twitter, X at TVBucksTim. You could read my stuff on LakeCountySentinel.com. We're also watch our podcasts on YouTube at Lake County Sentinel Podcast and on our Facebook page, Lake County Sentinel. But this is our weekly Guardians report. And, they went 4-2. The Guardians went 4-2 last week. I was on the road in Cincinnati at a travel baseball tournament. But I got to watch most of the, series. Both series. I saw the initial game against Colorado on Monday night. Monday was one of the toughest nights in recent history for the franchise. With last week with the with Emmanuel Clase being put on the suspended list for who knows what exactly. I've heard all kinds of different things. It'll all come out in the end. But I have to say, I'm going to start. I didn't plan on starting with it, but I'll just start with it so we can get it out of the way. I'm now beginning to question whether Emmanuel Clase had bets and money on games in the playoffs last year. You don't go from maybe possibly having the greatest season ever for a closer to falling apart. And that's what happened in the playoffs last year. Yes, there was overusage. I understand that. But he went from being reliable to being unreliable. And I think that, it makes me wonder now, did he throw games in the playoffs? I don't know. It makes me wonder. If he's cleared, then, I'm wrong about this. But I feel like he's not going to be cleared. I feel like him and Luis Ortiz are going to be banned from baseball for the rest of their lives. And if they did these things, then they should be. And there are a couple of horrible teammates. Horrible teammates. There's nothing worse than a teammate that only thinks about their self. And obviously, the both of them did that. And Clase especially, after he's made money, and, he threw a lot away now. He threw a lot away. So, I don't know what kind of skills they have off the baseball field. Construction for Ortiz, I did hear that. But, maybe they can go do that. Because chances are they're never going to step on a Major League Baseball field again. Maybe they can go play in Mexico or Korea or Japan, somewhere over there. But I don't think they'll ever play in the Major Leagues again. And if they don't get banned for life, I'd be very disappointed if the Guardians didn't release both of them. Because how can you have guys like that in your locker room? I mean, they need to get rid of both of those guys if they're not banned for life. But I think they're going to be banned for life. Well, let's get to what's important. Let's get to the team, the Guardians. Speaking of that Monday night, they lost that game 8-6 last Monday. And, of course, Tyler Freeman had the 3 RBI. He was traded for Nolan Jones. He had 3 RBI in that game. Nolan Jones had 1. For the series, Here are the stats. Tyler Freeman, 5 for 12, 417 average, 1 run scored, 3 RBI. Nolan Jones, 3 for 10, 2 runs scored, 3 RBI. So Tyler Freeman got on base more. He's the better player. I'm sorry, folks. He's the better player. And the trade was a bad one. It was a bad one. On it. I'm going to harp on it. And because the front office will never admit they made a mistake. And, as bad as last Monday was for fans, it had to be just as bad or worse for the front office because they had to watch. Not only did they get a gut punch, Sunday into Monday, announcing the Clase stuff, but then they got another punch to the gut Monday night when a guy they traded basically beat them. They lost to a team like the Rockies because of the guy they traded. So, the front office took their lumps. The Guardians did take the series 2-1. They outscored the Rockies 21-12. I would have liked to have seen them sweep them, but obviously they did not. And then they took 2 out of 3 from the Twins. And the Twins had to be crapping their pants yesterday when the Guardians almost came back and won that game. Since they've been walked off so many times by the Guardians. But Guardians won that series 2-1 by the slimmest run differential margin, +1. So last week, the Guardians did cut their plus-minus to -28. By the way, the team record is 56-55 now. They are 8 games behind the Tigers in the AL Central and 3 games out of a wild card spot. In their last 10, they're 5-5. And they, like I said, they have a -28 run differential. So, last week was you win a series, you win series. You got to win series. I mean, sure, they would have liked to have swept the Rockies. But the Rockies, they've played better lately. They have. So they were down 9-0 to the Pirates the other night, and they came back and won that game 17-16, I believe it was. Yeah, so they can hit the ball, the Rockies. There's no doubt about that. But we had the trade deadline last week. They traded Paul Sewald for a player to be named later to the Tigers. Sewald wasn't that good here. He'll probably be great in Detroit. But he wasn't that good here, and I don't see anything. You get a player later. Who knows who they get? Maybe they get a minor leaguer who won't amount to anything, but who knows? Michael Brantley was the player to be named later. So he turned out to be okay. So you never know with player to be named later. We'll see what happens with that. But then, they traded Shane Bieber to the Blue Jays for Cal Steffen. I don't know, Steffen or Steven, whatever they call him. But he's supposedly a really good pitching prospect for the Blue Jays. I'm not going to go over any numbers. Minor league numbers do not translate to professional baseball or to Major League Baseball. So we will see what, we'll see what happens with this guy. He's out right now with a shoulder, something with his shoulder. And from what I hear from, I heard Chris Antonetti talking about the other day, it's nothing serious. So hopefully he will, hopefully he'll be fine. And, at some point step into the rotation. I don't know if he can be a Cy Young winner like Shane Bieber. I mean, we can't predict that today. But they like to trade for starting pitching. And we'll see. I guess they were at didn't. So we'll see. They seem to like the guy. But of course they're not gonna trade for a guy and say, "Oh, he stinks." They're gonna trade for a guy and then talk him up like he's, gonna be the next Shane Bieber. So we'll see. I hope Bieber, does well in Toronto. Not against the Guardians, of course. I do not want the Toronto to be successful in postseason, though. I don't. I don't want Mark Shapiro to win anything. But so this week's series coming up, the Guardians will travel to the cesspool of New York to play the Mets, and then they will, they play 3 games at Citibank Field, I think it is. It's Citibank Field because they use some of their bailout money to pay for the naming rights for their field. That's right. I remember when that happened. Most people will forget that, but yeah, they used some of their bailout money in 2009 to, name the stadium. But, they're a New York team, so they're allowed to do whatever they want. I hate the Mets. I've always hated the Mets. I hate everything about New York, so it's not like, it's not like I'm, just hating them now. I can't stand the Mets and New York because they're arrogant. They're arrogant jerks who think they run the world, and they don't even have to be good to get publicity. But let's go over what the Mets are right now. The Mets are not in first place, even though they have one of the top 3 payrolls in baseball. They are not in first place. They are 63-49. They're a half game behind the Philadelphia Phillies. They are +1 ahead in the wild card race, so they would be a wild card team if the season ended today, which it does not. They are 5-5 in their last 10, just like the Guardians. So it's not like they've been playing great. And believe it or not, with that huge payroll, the size of the Federal Bank, they are only a +40 in run differential. So as for the amazing Mets or the great New York Mets, they're good, yeah, but they're not great. With their arrogant snob stars of Francisco Lindor, I'll smile at you and act like I want to stay, but I really don't have any intention of staying. And I'll try to make the Dolans look bad because I don't really want to stay, but I'm going to say I want to. And I'll smile, and the fans will believe it. That's Francisco Lindor. And then you got Juan Soto, who doesn't respect the game one bit. He's one of the biggest jerks. I can't stand that guy. He doesn't respect the game. He's getting paid all this money. It's disgusting. And then Pete Alonso. He's another one I can't stand. The guy is just so arrogant. It's all about Pete. So, the Mets aren't really a team. They're a bunch of individuals. So, it would be great if the Guardians could go in there and take 2 out of 3 from them. But, it won't be easy playing in New York. It never is easy playing in New York because you have to hear all the racist and anti-Semitic things that Mets fans yell. And they do. Mets and Yankees fans, horrible people. Horrible people. Get mad at me for saying it, but see what's transpired in the past, and you'll know I'm right. So, but the series, 3-game series tonight at 7:10, tomorrow at 7:10, and Wednesday afternoon at 1:10. Those are the game times for the series. And then after that, the Guardians travel to Chicago to face the Chicago White Sox and Aaron Savali. I watched Savali pitch a one-hitter Saturday night in a White Sox win. And don't look now, the White Sox aren't playing terrible. They have started to play better. They are 42-70. They won more games already than they did all of last year. Okay? And they still have 50 games left. Yes. Don't be surprised if the White Sox win 70 games. I wouldn't be stunned. I wouldn't be stunned if the White Sox go 28-22. I wouldn't be. So it's not like the Guardians are just going to go in there and it's going to be easy. But they're 42-70. They're 22.5 games out of first place. They are 17.5 back from a wild card spot, so that's pretty much out of the question for them. They are 6-4 in their last 10. As I said, 10-5 since the All-Star break. And they're only a minus 63. So their plus minus is only 35 runs worse than the Guardians. Last year, I think it was over 200. Like, it was just really bad. So they have definitely improved under the with their new manager, Will Venables, and Grady Sizemore still on their staff. So, this is not going to be an easy – that will not be an easy series either. They play Friday at 7:40, Saturday at 7:10, and Sunday at 2:10. And since the All-Star break, with the White Sox being 10-5, they've outscored their opponents 96-61. So they're hitting the ball and they're pitching better. So, I think that it's going to be a tough week. It's going to be a tough week, and the Guardians have got to be ready. They have got to know they're not going to just walk into Chicago and pitch great, or not pitch great, or just walk into Chicago and win easy. I think that we have to, look at this week. I'm going to call this week give my prediction early this week. I'm going to say 3-3. Okay. I'm going to give this a 3-3 week. That's what I say they're going to do. I'm going to say they go, I hate breaking individual series down, but I'm going to say it. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it's better. But I'm going to say they go 1-2 in New York. No, you know what? I'm going to say they go 2-1 in New York, and they go 1-2 in Chicago. Yep, I'm going to. That's what I'm going to say, because I think that Chicago is playing so well right now. Easy? I wouldn't call it an easy stretch after this, but there is this stretch of, after the Mets, the stretch of 12 games. White Sox, Marlins, Braves and Diamondbacks. I know the Marlins just beat the Yankees, but they're the only team in Major League history to have a winning record against the Yankees. So for some reason they beat the Yankees with no problem. But I also think that that's a stretch where the Guardians need to go like 9-3, in the next 12 games against the White Sox, the Marlins, the Braves, and the Diamondbacks. And then they play Texas, who's pretty good this year. They're not what they were the year they won the World Series, but then they go to Tampa. Tampa Bay comes to town, and so does Seattle. But they've got quite a few games. They play 12 of their next 18 games. 12 are on the road, so that's going to be tough. They're one game under 500 on the road. They're 27-28, and at home they are 28-27, I believe. No, that can't be right. Let's see. I messed that up. They are right now. They are 56-55. They're 29-27 at home and 27-28 on the road. So I messed that up. But so they're going to have to play better on the road here now to stay in contention. But after the Mets series, they don't play a team over 500 for, like 12. They don't play a team over 500 for 12 games. Marlins are in fourth place in the National League East. Obviously, Chicago's in last place in the American League Central. Then they play the Diamondbacks, who are they play Atlanta, who is not in last place, but they're not having a very good year. And then they play Arizona, who I believe is in fourth place. They're in fourth place in the National League West. So they've got an easy. We would think it would be an easy schedule coming up. The next 15 games. I'm thinking if they can go 10-5 in the next 15 games, they'll make the playoffs. I'm going to say 3-3 this week. So, I guess after that, they need to go 8-2. So we'll see. 9-2. So I think that I don't know. They seem to struggle with teams they should beat. Like they should have beat the Rockies the other day. They should have swept them. But I don't think the karma in the universe was set for anything to go right on that Monday for the Cleveland Guardians. It was just a disaster day. Could you imagine when the team knew about it Sunday night? Could you imagine having to go into work that Monday with the cloud that hung over that clubhouse and that front office and everything on Monday? That had to be pretty tough. But that's what you get paid. The media relations people get paid for, to spin it in a positive way. I don't know how you could spin that in a positive way at all. But, that's what they get paid, I guess, quite a bit of money for. And, but, I'm going to say 3-3 this upcoming week. Hopefully I'm wrong and I'm low. But I'm going to say 2-1 against the Mets and 1-2 against the White Sox. I think that's what's going to happen. I really do, though. A lot of positive momentum going to Chicago, and then they'll only win one. I've seen this happen with this team before, so. But it was great to see Colin Joseph Kafis, CJ Kafis, get his first major league hit on Sunday, driving in a run. And, he drove in his first run in his first at bat. So it's good to see him. He had a good weekend, Saturday and then Sunday. He got a couple games in now. Hopefully they continue to play him and don't platoon him, but I don't have a lot of confidence that that'll happen because you know how they are. They love that platoon crap, which I think is just absolutely destroys young players. But I think that's it for this week. And I'm going to tell you this: ignore the social media talking heads that have never covered a baseball game in their life, who think they know everything. They can just read some analytics. Ignore those people, and they change their opinions with the wind. So I've been doing this for 28 years. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, because I'm not, but I've seen a lot of trends. I see how things go. And you can't judge any baseball player by a 3 or 4 month period, really. You have to give them time. And that's what bothers me so much about John Kenzie Noel, them not giving him a shot this year and trading for Nolan Jones. So, but, we'll be back next Monday. And hopefully I'm wrong with my 3-3 prediction for this week. But I just hope they go to New York and play well, and the pitching staff holds Lindor in check, because I just can't stand that guy. So everybody have a good week, and we'll see you next Monday on the Sentinel Sports Extra Cleveland Guardians Weekly Report. No analytic. Until next week, Tim Shirer. Oh, we're still on? All right. See everybody next week.